Just a minute. It's all yours, Aisha. Take over, please. Thank you.
I'm Dr. Aisha Taha. Today's topic of discussion is Silver Warrior in Pediatric Dentistry. Following are the contents. Our main focus of today's topic will be silver diamond fluoride. Before we start discussing about silver diamond fluoride, let us have a few brief basis about it. That when we think about pediatric dentistry, the first thing which comes into the mind, be it a pediatric dentist or a general dentist practitioner, is the behavior management challenge, managing children in the dental office. Because of which, most of the time, general dental practitioner refrain from doing pediatric treatment because they think that it will be more time consuming, it will be more, the treatment technique will be more challenging or time consuming, and they have to be more patient while doing the treatment. These were the challenges till now, but still in this present situation, the challenges have increased furthermore. The latest concern for all the dental practitioners are that whether the dental treatment will generate aerosol or not. And the guidelines, the SOPs are suggesting us to avoid or postpone aerosol generating procedure and limit only to those which is really, really urgent and during this time of crisis. So keeping these things in mind, this is the time we should turn toward minimal invasive dentistry, where treatment, if possible, can be done with the least amount of time, with least amount of time given to the chair side, without generating aerosol, and also at the same time, our emphasis will be toward remineralizing of the lesion rather than just meticulously removing it. Now, this minimal invasive dentistry was pioneered in 1970s. This is not basically a technique. It is basically a concept which has evolved with the better understanding of the disease process, that is caries, and also with the advancement the science has made with the dental materials. Because of these two things, we can now focus on remineralizing the lesions, arresting the decay rather than just simply drilling and filling the tooth. This is the contemporary domain of dentistry, and following other principles, that is early detection, demineralization of early enamel lesion, reduction in cheirogenous bacteria, minimal surgical intervention, and repair rather than replace, and disease control. Now, coming to classification, International Caries Detection Assessment System has come up with a classification ISDRAS 1 in 2002, and soon it got modified into ISDRAS 2 classification in 2005, which is a 2-digit classification system. The first digit denotes relate to the restoration of the teeth and has coding from 0 to 9, which is shown in the screen. Then the second digit denotes the coding of the caries, which varies from 0 to 6. In IGDAS 2 classification, root caries code has been included, which was not there in IGDAS 1 classification. Now, coming on to remineralization of early lesion, that can be carried out using fluoridated agent and non-fluoridated agent as well. In fluoridated agent, it consists of fluoride varnish, gels, fluoridated toothpaste, rinse, and the silver diamond fluoride, which we will be talking about today. Non-fluoridated agents consist of various things, amorphous calcium phosphate, CPP, ACP, sodium calcium phosphosilicate, xylitol, dicalcium phosphate, dehydrate, and resin infiltration technology. Now, also the focus should be on reducing the cheirogenous bacteria, where the diet counseling, sugar substitute, chlorhexidine, fluoride, and silver diamond fluoride plays an important role. So today's topic of discussion will be silver diamond fluoride. I hope I am audible. Council of Scientific Affairs, along with Center for Evidence-Based Dentistry conducted systematic review, and then it has come up with evidence-based recommendation for caries reversal and arrest of cavitated and non-cavitated primary and permanent tooth in a non-restorative way, which includes use of silver diamond fluoride at 38%. Now here we can see on the slide, on the screen, that for primary tooth, the recommendation is that if it is a cavitated lesion, whether it's occlusal, interproximal, or facial or lingual, we can use the 38% silver diamond fluoride solution for non-restorative treatment option. For permanent tooth, it has been recommended that if it is an occlusal or interproximal or a facial or lingual carious lesion, then 38% silver diamond fluoride can be used. And if it is a root surface, be it cavitated or a non-cavitated lesion, 38% silver diamond fluoride can be used for as a non-restorative treatment option. Now coming, author Rosenwald in 2009 has described silver diamond fluoride as silver bullet to protect the tooth. Introducing silver diamond fluoride, it is basically a colorless topical agent. However, some of the formulation have got slight blue tint in it so that we can easily identify it while applying. It was first developed in Japan in 1960s and has been extensively used in Japan and various other countries like China, Australia, Nepal, Cuba. But in US, FDA has given approval in 2014. That was primarily for dentinal sensitivity, which further get expanded to other applications as well. Silver diamond fluoride comes in a small bottle, just like we get our bonding agent. Indian brand is available since 2017, and it is inexpensive. A single bottle in Indian currency costs 2,500 rupees, and it can be used across any ages. The process of using is very simple. We simply isolate and apply the silver diamond fluoride on the tooth surface. The fluoride content is high. It is almost double of that of other topical fluoride agent. That is 44,800 ppm fluoride, and it has alkaline pH of 10. Now, going to a little history of the silver diamond fluoride. Back in 1860s, Japan practiced a tradition called Ohaguru, where there was a traditional blackening of the teeth was done, which was considered to be good aesthetically at that time, and it was considered that it was a custom which was used to prevent tooth decay and also symbolized a woman fit to marry. But now it is not practiced anymore. Now, coming on to the composition, silver diamond fluoride consists of 38, its composition is 38%, where the silver component is 25%, fluoride is 5%, and diamond is 8%. The primary use is to arrest the caries, halt the progression, and prevent new lesion formation. Indications, according to the recommendation, that it is indicated in that basically the indication is for the cases where immediate definitive treatment cannot be rendered, or there is behavioral challenge with the patient, or special children, or medically compromised children, where the treatment cannot be done in a proper way, definitive treatment cannot be rendered, or we plan to postpone the treatment so that we can buy some time for the definitive treatment, or also in the cases where the caries lesion is not accessible. Like for example, if a patient is having trismus or a root surface caries which is not accessible, then we can go for this treatment. Also in situations like in rural areas or in community-based programs where we can perform this application. Contraindication is allergy to silver, mucositis, and gingivitis, desquamative gingivitis. There's a very big disadvantage associated with this is that it turns the tooth black. But it has to be noted that only the affected part turns black, whereas the sound enamel does not turn black. Even if it turns black, within 2 to 3 days, that sound enamel blackness will disappear. These are few of the clinical pictures where we can see the pre and post-op. After applying, the lesion turns black. If it touches the gingiva, the gingival area will also turn black in about 1 minute. And if accidentally, if it touches your skin surface, that will also become brownish color, just like a tattoo, henna tattoo is applied. For this purpose, it is very essential to take informed consent prior to application of this treatment option. It is very important to inform the patient that this treatment is rendered and this will turn the tooth black. Also, it is important to take history of any allergy towards silver or any metal. This is the informed consent format for silver diamine fluoride. But there are advantages are more because it can be done easily. It is economical. The safety margin is quite high and the efficacy is good. So if we will weigh between advantages and disadvantages, then we'll see the advantages are more and disadvantage is less, that it turns the tooth black. But at the same time, we can overcome this blackness by other restorative techniques. Other uses include molar incisor hypomineralization. It can be used. The point to be noted here is that it does not turn the entire tooth black. Only if there is a caries active part, it will turn it black. The application of SDF on hypomineralized molar will render the benefit effect rather than just turning it black. Root caries, it can be very successfully used with a high success rate of 90 to 93%. Other uses are sensitivity, strengthening of endodontic treated tooth, treatment of recurrent caries, and substitute of as to Pitt and Fisher sealants. Now, coming on to patient selection. That should be carried out based on patient history, clinical and radiological examination. We should check for that the tooth should not be symptomatic. There should be no abscess or pulpal exposure. The signs should correlate with the signs of irreversible pulpitis. Here are a few evidence-based studies. Systematic review done in 2009 showed that silver diamine fluoride can arrest caries up to 96% than that of fluoride varnish, whereas prevention is up to 70% than that of fluoride varnish. Randomized clinical trial was conducted. After 24 months, it was seen that 91% was the success rate of the tooth treated with biannual application. Hence, it recommends that the silver diamine fluoride should be applied twice in a year rather than just applying once, where the success rate was 83%. This question I shall be answering at the end. Okay. Now this is, I mentioned initially that American Dental Association along with Center for Evidence-Based Disease, Evidence-Based Dentistry formulated this non-restorative treatment option. There are other several studies which has been carried out which shows that silver diamond fluoride is better effective than just applying GIC, and also in the concentration of when a comparative study was done with a concentration of 38%, whereas versus 12%, it was found that 38% silver diamond fluoride is effective than compared to 12% of silver diamond fluoride. And also another study showed that 30% silver diamond fluoride had a better effect after 12 months than just simply using GIC as interim restoration. Coming on to the mode of action. Silver diamond fluoride, as mentioned, has got two active ingredients, that is silver and fluoride. Now the first one is silver, which is the warrior. That is, it is antimicrobial and inhibits microbial film formation. Silver basically, it acts in three ways. First, it breaks down it attaches with the cell wall and inhibits cell wall, breaks down the cell wall and inhibits formation. Second, it attaches with the DNA and disrupts its formation. Third, it attaches with the mitochondria and disrupts its metabolism. Hence, it is bactericidal. There are various studies which have shown that silver diamond fluoride is effective in controlling the karyogenic flora. Now, there is also something known as zombie effect with the silver in the silver diamond fluoride. Here, the free silver ion, which has been used to kill the bacteria, the dead bacteria act as the reservoir for the free silver ion, and it subsequently releases it. Thus, it is known as zombie effect. Now, the other purpose of silver in the silver diamond fluoride is that it strengthens the dentine by maintaining the collagen fibers intact. And how does it do? Is by inhibiting the proteolytic activities. That is, it inhibits matrix metalloproteinase, and also it inhibits other proteolytic enzymes like cysteine, cathispin. Thus, it maintains the integrity of the collagen fibers, hence strengthening the dentine. Also, the silver precipitates and it occludes the dentinal tubule, furthermore adding to the desensitizing part of it and strengthening the tooth. Now coming on to fluoride of the silver diamond fluoride, it helps increase the microhardness, and with hydroxyapatite it forms fluoroapatite, which is more and harder. Then coming on to it, also helps in remineralization, and the fluoride of the silver diamond fluoride, it forms calcium fluoride, which acts as the fluoride reservoir and helps remineralize the tooth. Now, this is a simple formula which is shown on the screen, that hydroxyapatite with silver diamond fluoride, it forms calcium fluoride and silver phosphate. This is the one which precipitates and occludes. Then calcium fluoride act as a reservoir for fluoride, and calcium fluoride disintegrate into calcium and fluoride and forms fluoroapatite along with hydroxyapatite. Silver phosphate is the one which precipitates and is insoluble. This is the reason which causes the tooth darkening. Now, the penetration of the fluoride is in enamel it is 25 micron, in dentine is 20 to 200, in arrested lesion it is 150 micron. Now coming to the diamond, this acts as a stabilizer. It stabilizes the solution and also helps maintain the pH of the solution. Now once again, just to summarize the mechanism of the action, the silver part of the silver diamond fluoride, it interacts with the protein part of the tooth and it has the bactericidal action, whereas silver interacts with the mineral part of the tooth and forms silver phosphate, which occludes the dentinal tubule and also have anti-enzymatic action and bactericidal action. And fluoride interact with the mineral of the tooth and forms calcium fluoride, which in turn increases the hardness of the dentine, prevent mineral degradation, occlude the dentinal tubule, remineralize, and increase addition of cement to the tooth. Okay. Now coming on to the clinical step. The first step is that we should take informed consent of the patient. We should tell the patient parents that the affected tooth might the affected part will discolor, and the allergic part also we should note that whether the patient is allergic to silver or not. Then the recommendation says that it should only involve removing the debris. We do not need to excavate the soft dentine or the infected dentine. As of now, what we have been doing, that we remove the soft carious dentine part, and then we go ahead with the restoration part. But here we do not need to remove that. We just need to remove the debris or the plaque. Then protection is done with the help of simple Vaseline or petroleum jelly should be applied near the gingiva and the lip area, so that it does not irritate or discolor. Followed by isolation simply with the cotton rolls or the cotton pads. Followed by the drying of the tooth. Not very, the tooth should be softly dried. We should not desiccate it. Then apply the silver diamond fluoride with the help of an applicator tip, the same which we have used for applying bonding agent. You dispense 1 drop of silver diamond fluoride on a plastic dappen dish. Then you dip your applicator tip and then just simply place it on the carious part, affected part, and just rub it or massage that area for 1 to 3 minutes. Here we can see the gingiva and the mucosa is protected with petroleum jelly. Then it is isolated and dried, followed by application of silver diamond fluoride using micro brush. And in case of there is an intraproximal decay, then super floss can be used, where we just place the floss in the interproximal area, and with the help of the applicator tip, we dip it in the silver diamond fluoride and place it over the floss which is there. That floss will absorb the SDF from the applicator tip, and let it remain there for 1 to 3 minutes. Now here is a small video to demonstrate the application procedure.
Could you talk us through this, Aisha, please? Aisha? Aisha, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Aisha? Aisha, can you hear me?
Is the video visible? Okay. So the
Can you-
application of silver diamond fluoride has been done, followed by application of topical fluoride varnish. This is done to mask the bitter or metallic taste of the material.
Can you hear me,
You can
Aisha?
also use the Chlorhex mouthwash dipped in cotton palette and applied over the tooth surface just to mask the bitterness.
Can you
Next is
hear me? Sorry,
super
Aisha.
floss.
Aisha, can you hear me?
Select the area. This is floss in place, followed by application of silver diamond fluoride with the help of applicated tip. The application procedure is very easy. And on top of it, topical fluoride varnish can be applied just to mask the taste of it. The recommended application is biannual. The disadvantage or adverse reaction is that it has metallic or bitter taste and temporarily stains the skin, and it has high fluoride content. The staining part of the skin is that if it touches the gingiva or any mucous membrane of the skin, it temporarily stains it, which remains for 2 to 3 days, and it will go by its own. If you want to immediately remove it, just simply rinse it with water or use sodium hypochlorite solution dipped in cotton palette and rub it in that area slightly. It will help you remove the stain. Otherwise, by itself also it will go. You don't need to do that also. And if it temporarily stains your skin, like your hand or your cheek area by accidentally, the patient cheek area, if it has touched, the same thing can be applied using just rinse it with water or with sodium hypochlorite solution. It can be done. It should be taken care of that proper isolation procedure should be followed. Use of gloves should be done in and while dealing with silver diamond fluoride, it should be taken care that the operator should not touch any other area on the operatory field, because it tends to discolor the other surfaces as well. Now, to overcome the disadvantage of silver diamond fluoride, the other products coming up with is silver nanofluoride, but this is still not available. It is a research product. Now, there are other methods to remove that staining part, that is with the help of use of potassium iodide. Silver diamond fluoride with potassium iodide has been noted to remove that black staining part of the material. How it is done? That immediately after applying silver diamond fluoride, you apply potassium iodide on the same lesion. That will, what it does, that the precipitate which is formed in the mechanism of action which we have noted, that silver phosphate precipitate is formed, which is blackened in color. This silver precipitate is the cause of the blackness of the tooth. The excess of it, which we do not need it as such. So potassium iodide with on application, it dissolves that precipitate and forms a creamy white froth which can be rinsed off easily with water. This helps in combating the discoloration part of the tooth. Hence, in such application, the tooth does not discolor so much like only using silver diamond fluoride, it discolors. Now, Jeffrey Knight in 2018 has demonstrated on this tooth where we can see on one side of the tooth, we can see the blackish margin. This is the discoloration of the carious part, which is due to silver diamond fluoride. Whereas on the other side, we can see that there is no such blackish discoloration. This is done by using silver diamond fluoride and immediately after applying potassium iodide on it. This washed off the discoloration part followed by restoration. So we can overcome this part. The commercial available material where is Diva Star, which is an Australian company, which provide you silver diamond fluoride in a two kit system. In one kit there is a silver diamond fluoride, in other kit there is a potassium iodide. So first you apply silver diamond fluoride followed by application of potassium iodide. Now this process is still controversial because there are certain studies which shows that even after application of potassium iodide, the blackening does not reverse. It is a controversial thing which is still under review, and for more studies are required to confirm it. A randomized clinical trial was done and it was shown that blackening of arrested root caries was not reduced even after application of potassium iodide after using silver diamond fluoride. Whereas the other studies shows that it does remove that blackening part. Now, there's another concern that how does it affect the bond strength? Once we apply silver diamond fluoride, then we apply potassium iodide, and then if you apply GIC, then how does it affect the bond strength of it? It has been noted, after various studies, it has been found that silver diamond fluoride along with potassium iodide does not negatively affect the GIC. But again, few of the studies is in the controversy to this, that Kukimilas et al. In 2016 and Knight et al. In 2006 state that it decreases bond strength, whereas Selvaraj et al. In 2016 and Kwok et al. Said that it does not decrease the bond strength. Also, the one more point to be noted here is that the best outcome is found in the cases where we apply silver diamond fluoride with potassium iodide followed by application of GIC, but after 1 week. That also I'll be quoting the study. So coming on to the safety margin, the average lethal dose for oral administration of silver diamond fluoride is 520 milligram per kg body weight, and 1 drop of silver diamond fluoride, that is approximately 25 milliliter, consists of 9.5 milligram of silver diamond fluoride. So for 10 kg child, it will be approximately 0.95 milligram per kg body weight. So for 10 kg child, it can be easily seen that 0.95 milligram per kg body weight is way below than the average lethal dose, that is 520 milligram per kg body weight. So safety margin is quite high. We can safely use this product. Worldwide clinical trials have published and more than 4,000 children data is available where no systemic adverse effect or death has been reported till now. Now, the basic concern is again the discoloration part. To mask it, we can always go for crown or restoration. Now, the restoration part along with silver diamond fluoride is known as silver modified atraumatic restorative technique. Also, same thing can be used along with Hall's technique, then it is known as silver modified Hall's technique. Now coming on to silver diamond fluoride and GIC, the bond strength has been shown to be strongest when the GIC was placed after conditioning the tooth where the silver diamond has been applied 1 week prior. Whereas the lowest bond strength was noted in the case where the GIC was applied immediately after application of silver diamond fluoride. So with this, I would conclude the presentation. Silver diamond fluoride is a part of minimal invasive dentistry, and it will help us save time, save money, and save stress, as well as we can save the tooth by preventing it to progress into a more painful lesion. So, following are the references. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Taha. Are you able to hear me properly?
Yes, sir.
You're able to hear me, yeah? Could you stop sharing your screen now, please?
Yes, sir, I can hear you, sir.
Yeah, could you stop sharing the screen now, please? So we can get the panel on. Thank you, Dr. Aisha Taha. That was brilliant. I think I've learned a lot about silver diamond fluoride. And probably I think it's the easiest way to manage children if you don't want to do any fillings or any treatment on them, especially the ones who are uncooperative. Can I ask Dr. Gausia to unmute herself and Dr. Shiraz Pasha as well, please? To unmute yourself. Dr. Gausia, can you unmute yourself, please? And could you turn on your video as well, if you don't mind? Dr. Shiraz Pasha will be the moderator. He's going to put forward the questions to the panelists and to the speaker. I'm just going to stop talking and let you guys carry on. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Shiraz? Dr. Shiraz, can you take over, please?
Yeah, hello. Hi, good evening, Dr. Aisha, and good evening, Dr. Gausia. Excellent presentation. It was a short and sweet presentation. Good evening, Dr. Gausia. You seem very relaxed and charged up, Dr. Gausia. Yeah. Let us go with the first question. It's from myself. In your presentation, you said that the skin discoloration, which is because of the silver diamond, is it reversible or is it permanent?
It is reversible, sir. It is there only for 2 to 3 days. What I have seen, once it has, I myself have got it stained. It was there for 2 to 3 days. It's just like a temporary henna tattoo. It is just like that.
Okay.
And immediately, if it is a concern for a patient, that staining is, if it stains the patient, and when the patient goes back home and realize there is a stain on his cheek or any surface of the hand or somewhere, then you can advise the patient to use a nail polish remover at home if the patient is there, or it can easily go off with that. And if the patient is in the clinic, you can easily use sodium hypochlorite to remove that stain.
Sodium hypochlorite on the skin? Do you mean to say, so we should use sodium hypochlorite on the skin, is it? Topically?
Yes, sir. Or you can simply wash off with plain water.
Have you used sodium hypochlorite on the skin, is it?
No,
have you used on any?
I've used nail polish remover, sir.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know much about nail polish remover, but I definitely know about sodium hypochlorite. It's definitely not advised to apply sodium hypochlorite on the skin because it will cause burning sensation.
Yes.
Yeah, Dr. Gausia, you want to add anything on that?
Because of the desquamation of the skin cells, within 14 days it will disappear, sir. Leave it for good, and then in 2 weeks you see the stain disappears. You don't have to take it.
Okay. And I think it's always better we explain the patient that it can cause discoloration and it can stay for 15 days, because I think after the procedure, if there is discoloration and if you have to explain, it will be a difficult task and the patient might not be very cooperative.
Yes, sir. Definitely.
I think that's why doctor is mentioned about the consent form which is done prior to procedure.
Yes.
And that
Definitely.
clearly it is mentioned about the staining protocol.
Yes. The second question is also from myself. How does it, you in your presentation you mentioned that it can be used to strengthen the root canal treated teeth. It's very interesting to know how, because we read a lot about weakening of the tooth in root canal treated teeth. So if you can throw some light on that, it will be helpful.
Sir, it lies in the mechanism of action of the silver diamond fluoride, the fluoride part of it. The concentration of fluoride is almost double of, it's pretty high comparative to other topical fluoride agents which has been using. So that part helps in strengthening the tooth, and the other thing is the silver part of it also helps in occluding the dentinal tooth. Basically, the fluoride part of it, sir, helps in strengthening the tooth, sir. I have not used it, sir, myself, but in text it also it was written that if you're using on an endodontic treated tooth, that or if you're using during root canal treatment, then you should make sure that it will discolor that part, and the blackening should not be the concern. Then only you use it, otherwise you don't use it, sir.
Okay, because you mentioned about silver getting incorporated into the collagen of dentine and thereby strengthening. Is it anything to do with that? Because as far as I know,
the bond strength, yes, sir. It helps maintain the integrity of the hybrid layer.
No, hybrid layer will come later on when we are going to bond it.
Yes,
so in a root canal treated tooth, is it we are going to apply it into the access cavity, or we are going to apply it outside?
So it was mentioned in the text that it should be used along with laser.
Laser, okay. How? I mean, what is the effect of this? Is getting interesting.
Detail was not. Detail I have not been. I'll find it out, sir, about this, and then, sir, I'll.
Okay. Yeah. Please, it will be helpful if you post some articles, as in how much of strength and how much of compressive strength it increases, and how it does, and even the flexural strength, how much it is going to increase. And what are there any studies comparing with this with the normal with the root canal treated tooth? If there are any studies, please post it on the group. Okay.
Yes, sir. I'll search, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Let us go to the next question. I think this is from Dr. Ramesh. After application, is the caries removal required before restoration, or is the cavity left open?
Sir, this comes under non-restorative treatment option. That is proposed by American Dental Association in that recommendation guideline. It comes under non-restorative treatment option. So we do not need to restore the tooth. We can simply leave it open. And if possible, if we can define the margin and make it self-cleansing, then that will solve the purpose. But since the darkening of the tooth, the blackening of the tooth is the concern, so after 1 week, we can apply GIC on top of it so that it will mask that discoloration.
All right. Dr. Hosea, you want to add anything on that?
Not exactly, sir. Because it is a medical approach. The whole idea of using SDF is the medical model of caries. So
exactly.
then there is no question of surgical approach
at all. Yes. Basically, we are talking of minimal intervention here. So
yes,
no point of doing a cavity preparation. Yes. This is from Dr. Basha. Can we use SDF in adults and medically compromised patients?
Yes, sir. In the recommendation, it is mentioned that it can be used in medically compromised patients, children with special healthcare needs, or in adults. The classification is that in case of cavitated lesions, it is advised in occlusal, interproximal, and facial and lingual areas, and in case of non-cavitated and cavitated lesions of root caries in adults or in permanent tooth.
The introduction of SDF is for end-of-life care, sir, for palliative care, and for the hospice centers. Basically, when it was introduced, it was ideally for the cancer patients, for the palliative care where no accessibility of any intervention was possible. So that's how it was introduced in Japan also.
Something like ART technique, the basis of ART also was similar, right?
It helps us buy time so that maybe in future we can plan a more definitive treatment. And also it was my concern for this topic was that in this area present situation, we are trying to avoid any aerosol generating procedure. So if we can, if there is a carious tooth, even if in an adult, we can, that is my view, sir, that we can just apply the SDF and leave it so that at least the caries will not progress into a pulp exposure. At least it will halt there. Then later on, we can plan for a more proper restorative procedure.
Okay. So let us go to the next question. Does SDF application affect bonding of composite later when you do definitive restoration? Dr. Gausia, can you throw some light on this?
Because the SDF action itself, I think doctors put a lot of slides on the collagen degeneration, also on MMPs, metalloproteinases. So the idea of bonding and SDF, it's the same mechanism of action. So then there's no point of, there's no question of composite interfering into degeneration of SDF or something.
Yes. So let us go to the next question. This is from Dr. Sabashe. For how long should SDF be applied on the tooth? And is there any difference in duration of application of primary teeth and permanent teeth? And also in mature teeth and in immature teeth?
Not exactly, because it is again like as etchant. So SDF, the action, the chemical action, if you go through the slides of doctor's presentation, she's presented some 6 slides on it. So the mechanism of action of bonding agent as well as the SDF is same. So etchant, it's the same mechanism. The time duration is similar actually. The time duration for the primary or image.
I think the question is how long should SDF be applied on the tooth? And is there any duration of application for primary and permanent teeth? I think, is there any difference?
I think
1 to 3 minutes.
1 minute, 1 to 2 minutes.
Time. And there is no as such difference has been mentioned for the application procedure for permanent and primary tooth in the literature. But there is one thing that even if we are able to apply even for 10 seconds, it doesn't work. There is one literature on that I shall be quoting it in the group. I will be posting it that even 10 seconds is useful. If the patient is really uncooperative, 10 seconds will also do.
All right. So the next question is, what are the factors which will impact your selection of SDF, fluoride varnish or GC tooth mousse?
Sir, the studies have shown that the SDF has got better caries arrest and prevention compared to fluoride varnish and tooth mousse. So based on that, we can, and fluoride varnish, the application time is also more, the repetitive application has to be done. With SDF, biannual is sufficient. We can do with SDF.
And tooth mousse?
The tooth mousse is basically, sir, is a home care treatment, sir.
Home care, yeah. Dr. Gausia, would you like to add anything on this? It's a very interesting question. How do you select between these 3? That is your SDF, fluoride varnish, and tooth mousse.
I think it again is economic. Using 1 drop, I think can be used for 6 lesions. So I think once the cost factor is explained to the parent and then consent is taken accordingly, I think that's how it is. Otherwise, I don't see any difference. Yes, of course, it is always better than fluoride varnish. CCP-ACP, I think it's the cost factor which is coming in the way of SDF and CCP-ACP usage, is what I personally think. I mean.
Okay. So apart from the cost, I
And
think.
then, as doctors already mentioned about the biannual application, CCP-ACP requires, cost, I think one drop, as claimed by the authors, is used for 6 lesions. And efficacy is basically dependent on the dropper and the specific gravity of the liquid used. So they claim that it is used for 6 lesions. I've not personally used it, but that's what the literature says. So economic as against the CCP-ACP.
All right, all right.
One drop of SDF can be easily used for 5 to 6 lesions, sir.
Okay. So it is very economical. So
yes, sir.
And I think the shelf life is also good. If I'm
the shelf life is also good for 2 years.
Okay. So our next question is from Dr. Khurram. Nano silver fluoride particles, can this be used, and its effect on discoloration, same as compared to conventional silver fluoride particles? Anybody can take this question.
Sir, yes, sir, this is there in the literature, but sir, the nano silver fluoride does not discolor the tooth surface, and this is the advanced version of silver diamond fluoride. But since this is not available right now, and the literature says that it's not a very stable molecule. So when it will come, sir, then we'll have better understanding of this material.
All right. Dr. Gausia, you would like to add anything on that? Nano silver fluoride particles, it's in the future. I think we don't have that particle still.
Commercially available. Yes, it's not commercially available as yet, as far as my knowledge goes.
Yeah, that's what Dr. mentioned. Dr. Aisha mentioned. Yeah. Let us go to the next question. Does pre-treatment of tooth with EDTA, will it help in penetration of SDF? EDTA.
So that is not in the recommendation guidelines, sir. To use EDTA or to
I don't see the.
Remove the soft carious part. It is just the guideline is just to apply it.
EDTA, I don't think so. What effect? It just does removal of smear layer. It does. Even if you are using 17% EDTA. Dr. Basha has this question. So, anything you want to add, Dr. Gausia? EDTA. Yes, exactly.
That is also, SDF is taking care of the degeneration. I don't see the additional usage. I mean, SDF is used again to cut short your stage. Yeah, so then I don't see any additional usage of EDTA at all is required.
Yes. Okay. Let us go to the next question. Soap water, 3% hydrogen peroxide or iodine tincture is used according to the manual of SDF. That's what Dr. Basha is justifying. Right? Okay.
Yes, I missed this part.
Yeah.
Rinsing with water, soap water.
Okay.
The stain.
To remove that stain, sir.
To remove the stain, soap water is used. Is it? Okay. The next question: how does it help in remineralization of dentine in root canal system? Question from Dr. Khurram.
I think that it is explained in the presentation. The slides were put.
Yeah, I think she explained it very within great detail. She has explained how does it remineralize and all that. Yeah, let us go to the next question then. In what exact manner will the fluoride part help, especially in an endodontally treated teeth? If we are talking about replacement of ions, then that's only in the enamel. So how exactly does it strengthen the tooth? So we're coming back to my question of how it strengthens the tooth. So Dr. Ali has raised a query saying how exactly it will strengthen the tooth. So that's I think it's a little interesting for all our endodontists.
I'll search more on this topic, sir.
Yeah. Because what Dr. Ali is mentioning is the exchange of ions happen only in enamel. So yes, so that's why this query has okay. Dr. Ramesh, will the application help in reducing sensitivity?
Yes, sir.
I think you answered that question, right? It does help in reducing the sensitivity.
FDA primarily approved this thing for dental sensitivity in 2014.
Okay. The next question is from Dr. Kurat. Is the decay is deep? If the decay is deep, say the remaining dentin thickness is say less than 5 mm, less than 0.5 mm, and if you apply this, will it have any effect on the pulp tissue, or what is the effect of this on the pulp tissue?
SDF should not be applied directly on the pulp. If we apply it, then it is definitely irritating. But otherwise, in such case, we can apply and it is relatively safe. There is an article for this, sir. I'll be sending this article.
All right. Dr. Gausia, you want to add anything on this?
I think that's why case selection. He talks about the case
think,
selection, sir. So SDF has case selection criteria. So there it excludes this point. This point is excluded while case selection is taken care, sir. If the protocol is taken care.
Okay. Does conditions like fluorosis and other tooth developmental problems affect the efficacy of SDF?
Yes, it does, because fluoride increase. SDF has fluorides. It's like asking about application of fluoride varnish to the fluorosis teeth. So the question is, I mean, we are increasing the toxicity of fluorides. We want the hydroxyapatite crystals to happen. So I don't see SDF being justified in using a fluorotic teeth. Like just like using sodium fluoride varnish or any fluoride varnish. So case selection again comes here, sir.
All right. So let us go to the next question.
I think you've missed one question, sir, if you don't mind. I think by Dr. Kurat. I think about the antibacterial.
The antibacterial efficacy, right? Does it have any antibacterial efficacy? I think we discussed that in the presentation. That's why I think I kept that question.
It has a mechanism of action in 3 ways. It interacts with the cell wall and the cell membrane and disrupt that. It interacts with the DNA and also it interacts with the mitochondria and interrupts the respiratory and metabolic process. Hence, it is bactericidal, sir.
Okay. She adds another question to that. Is it better than sodium hypochlorite or chlorhexidine or comparable? Can it be used as an alternative?
Alternative has
Can I just head button if you don't mind, please?
Please.
I think Dr. Kurat's talking about that study, which basically says that SDF is can be used as an irrigant, but unfortunately that study also mentions that sodium hypochlorite was considered to be the best to be used. And in instances of using chlorhexidine 2% in endodontics, you generally use it in retreatments. I would say very rarely. In fact, it will be the last irrigant before you obturate, following all the protocols. So I would not go by that study. I would still stick with 3% sodium hypochlorite or 6% or 5.25% sodium hypochlorite as the best irrigant. So that study, I think, is what Dr. Kurat is trying to ask whether it can be used as an alternative. And I would still not use something which will discolor the tooth in endodontics. So if as such, I think we would stick with the gold standard, which is sodium hypochlorite. I think Shiraz also probably would agree with me.
Yes, definitely. No replacement of sodium hypochlorite as of now. The next question is from Dr. Nadeem. is SDF a replacement for restoration, or it's just an interim therapy? I think you have discussed this in detail in the beginning itself, right? And should we plan for a restoration on follow-ups? What if the patient has silver allergy? So what if the patient has silver allergy if we use SDF? So I think we need to. Can you answer this, Dr. Aisha?
Sir, any such incident I have not noted in my clinic, but we should take informed consent in which the history of allergy should be taken. In case the patient is still not aware of it and develops any allergic reaction or desquamation of the gingiva or the surrounding area, then immediately antihistamine should be prescribed with topical fluoride and referral to the pediatrician, so that to the specialist to take care of it.
All right. So that's the end of questions. Over to you, Dr. Ali. I think we had a terrific session of question answers.
Thank you, Dr. Shiraz, Dr. Aisha, and Dr. Gausia. I think it was a fantastic presentation. I appreciate taking time on a Sunday evening to enlighten us with regards to the silver bullet or silver warrior or silver SDF. But as Dr. Gausia mentioned, you need a lot more studies on this topic or the clinical.
Concluding statement for the presentation of today. I think as per the AAPD guidelines or American Academy of Pediatrics or American Dental Association, it's a low evidence based product. So that should be the concluding statement, because it is only a conditional recommendation. It cannot be a strong recommendation. Of course, the conditions were mentioned by doctor in the presentation initially. So that should be the concluding of the presentation for today.
Brilliantly said.
So we are waiting for the evidence for 2022. I think 5 years from the last guidelines were given in 2017. So whatever discussions have been done even today, I think we should wait for the guidelines for 2022, because the last guidelines as given by all these respective associations have been strongly told that it is only a conditional recommendation. So based on the conditions of the economic disparity or the patient preference and stuff like that. So otherwise, there are other definitive treatment protocols which has to be considered.
So there's no replacement for conventional treatment, if I'm...
Not at all. This is for end of life care patients, basically. So for the palliative care who are ambulatory, who cannot, access to the, or probably for the pandemic condition of today, just like doctor wants to buy some time for a few months till the pandemic gets over, probably, that can be substituted.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dr. Gausia. Thank you for your inference. I'm grateful for all of you to come and join us this evening. I wish we continue the discussion in the main group. We will be posting our video on YouTube channel as well, so please subscribe and please watch it. But thank you all. I would end the session if that's okay with everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.